there is probably someone whose opinion still affects you more than it should. Maybe it's a parent, maybe a former partner, maybe an old friend, maybe someone you haven't spoken to in years. And yet, when they approve of you, something inside you relaxes. When they don't, something tightens. A small comment stays with you longer than it should. A look of disappointment feels heavier than it should. And no matter how independent you become, part of you still seems to care. The question is why? Why does one person's opinion carry so much weight? And why is it so difficult to stop caring? Most people assume the answer is simple. They think they are looking for approval, acceptance, validation, recognition. But often, something deeper is happening. Because approval is rarely just approval. Sometimes approval becomes a symbol of safety, a symbol of belonging, a symbol of being enough. And at some point, something subtle happens. The person stops being just a person. They become a mirror. Every compliment feels like evidence. Every criticism feels like proof. And without realizing it, you begin looking at yourself through their eyes. Over time, their approval becomes less important than what it represents. And without realizing it, you begin treating certain people as if they have the power to define your value, not because they actually do, but because somewhere along the way, their reaction became connected to how you see yourself. This is why the experience can feel so irrational. Part of you knows their opinion should not matter that much. Part of you knows they are imperfect. Part of you knows they cannot determine your worth. And yet, their approval still feels important. Not because you are weak, but because the emotional meaning attached to that approval was never really about the present. It was built much earlier. Many people spend years trying to earn something they never fully received: a parent's pride, a teacher's recognition, a partner's affection, a sense of being chosen, seen, valued. And when those experiences feel incomplete, the search often continues, not always consciously. Sometimes it becomes a pattern so familiar that we no longer notice it. We simply find ourselves caring too much, trying harder, explaining ourselves, proving ourselves, hoping that this time it will finally feel like enough. But it rarely does, because the real problem is not the lack of approval. The real problem is what approval has come to mean. For some people, it means safety. For others, it means belonging. For others, protection from rejection. And this is where something important happens. What we call a need for approval is often a fear of disapproval, a fear of disappointing someone, a fear of losing connection, a fear of being judged, a fear of discovering that we are not enough. In many cases, people are not moving toward approval. They are moving away from rejection. And those are not the same thing. The difference matters. Because approval can never fully satisfy a fear. Fear always asks for more reassurance, more proof, more confirmation. And no amount of external validation can permanently silence it. This is why approval can become addictive. It creates relief. But relief is not the same thing as security. Relief fades, and when it does, the search begins again. Another achievement, another compliment, another sign that we are accepted, another reason to believe we are enough. But the feeling never lasts. Not because approval is meaningless, but because it was never meant to carry the weight of our entire self-worth. Over time, something even stranger can happen. The people whose approval we seek no longer need to judge us. We learn to do it ourselves. Eventually, they no longer need to disapprove of us. We anticipate it. We correct ourselves before they speak. We shrink before they reject us. We question ourselves before they ever have the chance. The pattern survives even when the person doesn't. Their voice becomes part of our own thinking. Their standards become our standards. Their criticism becomes our criticism. And eventually, we begin evaluating ourselves through a lens we never consciously chose. This is why some people continue seeking approval long after the original relationship has ended. The person may be gone, but the pattern remains. Perhaps the deepest realization is this: sometimes you are not trying to gain approval. You're trying to repair an old absence, an old uncertainty, an old wound. You are hoping that if the right person finally approves of you, something inside you will settle. Something inside you will finally feel complete. But completion rarely arrives that way, because no person's approval can permanently answer a question that was never really about them. Some of the approval we seek today belongs to a much older story, and that is why it can feel so powerful. The approval itself is not the source of the emotion. It is simply carrying the weight of something that came before it. Maybe this is why certain opinions affect us so deeply. Not because those people know us best, not because they see us most clearly, but because they became connected to our sense of worth. And once that connection exists, breaking it takes more than confidence. It takes awareness. The awareness to recognize that your value was never supposed to depend on another person's permission. The awareness to see the difference between being appreciated and being defined. The awareness to understand that approval may feel good when it comes, but it was never meant to tell you who you are. Because the moment another person's approval becomes your identity, you begin handing them a responsibility they were never meant to carry, and a power they were never supposed to have. If this reflection resonated with you, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone who may need it. And tell me in the comments, whose approval has been the hardest for you to let go of?